Hello there, Math 133 students. I received a request for a tutorial on this question, which is 3.3.1 T. The T after it stands for technology, so we're going to use technology. So I'm going to view an example because it's going to work the same way and you guys get to see how this works. So it says recently a random sample of 25 to 34-year-olds was asked, how much do you currently have in savings, not including retirement savings? The data in the table represent the responses to the survey. Approximate the mean and standard deviation amount of savings. Click the icon to view the frequency distribution for the amount of savings. Okay, so if I click this icon, there it is. Now, what you can do is in the top right corner, there is a little icon that if you let your mouse hover over it, it says, or your cursor hover over it, it says click to copy table. So I'm going to click and I can copy that table into StatCrunch. I can open it in Excel. I can do whatever I want. So I'm actually going to open it in StatCrunch. Why not? This will be great. So look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So it actually did a few things. So what it's doing is taking these classes and it's writing the lower numbers here and the upper numbers here, which aren't really the numbers we need anyway, but there they are. So we have them. So what we need is another column in between. Before this frequency column, we need another column that's the midpoint column. So I'm going to get up here to where it says frequency, and you can see that little arrow, that menu system shows up. So if I click on that little downward arrow, I'm going to insert a column to the left, and I'm going to type midpoints. All right, so what I need to do is enter the midpoints into this column for these classes. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is find the midpoint of the first class. And to do that, you need to take the middle, the average of lower class limits, consecutive lower class limits. So I need 0 plus 200 divided by 2. Well, 200 divided by 2 would be 100. You can do this in Desmos as well. I mean, the problems might not be always as easy as 0 plus 200. So if I type parentheses 0 plus 200, close parentheses, divide by 2, you can see it's 100. And that method would work even if it wasn't 0 at the starter. All right, so that means that this particular, oops, I have to get back to my StatCrunch. 1 second. Here it is. So that one's 100. Now, to find the next one, I could take 200 plus 400 and add them up and divide by 2. But I could also say, hey, I noticed that this is going up by 200s every time. If you look at the numbers here, 200, 400, 600, 800, it's going up by 200. 200 is my class width. So all I have to do is add 200 onto 100. Well, 200 plus 100 is 300. Plus another 200 would be 500. Plus another 200 would be 700, 900. 1100 and 1300, and there they all are. Those are the midpoints right there. Oops, sorry, I minimized it and I wanted to make it bigger. I wanted to maximize it. I went the wrong way. There we have them. All right, so all it's asking us to do is find the mean and the standard deviation. So we need to go to Stat, Summary Stat, Grouped Bind. Right, that's how we do this. This is the one section in section 3.3 that we do this grouped bin thing. It's basically finding the average of a frequency distribution. So if you see frequencies here, right, weights, in other words, that's a grouped bin. Your bins are the midpoints. Those are the X values, right? So the midpoints would be your bins. And the counts is frequency. Counts is another word for frequency. It's how many are in each of those bins. And we need the mean and the standard deviation. Now the mean is pretty straightforward. It's right here, the mean. Now the standard deviation, usually we want this one right here, which is the sample standard deviation if this is a sample. Occasionally you might want this one down here, which is the unadjusted standard deviation. That's the population standard deviation, also known as sigma. So you just have to go back to the problem and see, hey, which one was this? So let's go back to the problem. And it says it's a random sample. So since it's a sample, this will be the sample standard deviation that we have to find here. So we're actually going to select the standard deviation. Now to select two things that are not next to each other, you hold down your control button, or on a Mac computer, it would be command. On an Apple computer, you'd hold down the command button and you click on the next thing. So I have the mean selected, I hold my control button, I'm just pressing it down this whole time, and then I go use my mouse and I click on the other item that I want. And again, I'm using the sample standard deviation because this was a sample. And then I say compute. And there they are, the mean and the standard deviation. So 250.19, say, and 236.36. And if you don't believe me, we can continue through all of this. See there, they show finding the midpoints and all that jazz. And sure enough, they got 236, just like we did. So there you have it. Now, what's interesting to me is they always show it being done by hand for something like this, but we don't need it done by hand. So it was 250 for the mean and 236 for the standard deviation, which is the same number, or are the same numbers, I should say, that we got. Hope that helps.